Announcements.
Honourable members, I have an announcement to make. I wish to inform the House that on Wednesday, 5th May 2021, I received a letter from the Honourable Minister of Gender Equality and Family Welfare in relation to the utterance of some derogatory words in the course of the proceedings of the parliamentary sitting of Tuesday, 4th May 2021, which is being widely and diversely commented in the media. In the light thereof, I caused an internal investigation to be carried out under the supervision of the Clerk of the National Assembly with a view to ascertaining if the alleged derogatory words had in fact been uttered and, if so, by whom. Moreover, in the course of the investigation, it also came to light that a video footage of the relevant time at which the alleged derogatory words were uttered was being circulated on Facebook, and it appeared that there is a discrepancy between the Parliament TV version, which is the official version, and the Facebook version. Honourable members, I have to report that according to the video footages, some derogatory words had in fact been uttered. However, it has not been possible to unequivocally identify the person having uttered same, and it has been deemed most appropriate to seek and obtain the forensic expertise of the Cybercrime Office of the Mauritius Police Force for assistance in this matter. Honourable members can rest assured that once I will be in presence of the findings of the said experts, I will report on this matter accordingly. Moreover, on the same subject, I wish to inform the House that on 5th May 2021, I also received an email from the Honourable Fourth Member for Vauquois Floréal, Maison-Chil, I quote, requesting that you, that is myself, instruct the technical department which is responsible for audio and video recording of proceedings in the Assembly to ensure safe custody of all recordings and to prevent any unlawful tampering with these recordings, end quote. And further stated, I quote, you will appreciate that both allegations will have to be properly investigated, hence the need to ensure the authenticity of evidence, end quote. The House would appreciate that a letter of such a tenor from a honourable member is most regrettable, inasmuch as it is tantamount to casting doubts on the integrity of the Assembly and the officers serving same. I thank you.
Papers have been laid. Questions?
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, my question is addressed to the Honourable Minister of Health and Wellness. Whether in regard to alleged medical negligence relating to births in regional hospitals occurring from 1st February to 15th April 2021, he will state the number of complaints received, indicating the number thereof having been the subject of further inquiry by the Standing Committee on Medical Negligence, indicating the date of the start of inquiries and if the said inquiries have now been completed and the number thereof, if any, referred to the Medical Council for further action.
Mr. Speaker, sir, at the outset, I wish to inform the House that minimum personal information will be given in my reply to this private notice question, and I hope that members will not impress on me to give very personal details on the procedures for delivery. I entirely empathize with the families in these difficult and trying situations. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that nearly 8 million children are still born worldwide each year. That is, one infant every 16 seconds, according to joint estimates by UNICEF, World Health Organization, World Bank, and the United Nations in 2020. In Mauritius, the stillbirth rate was 10.7 per thousand births in 2019 and has been stable since several years. The main causes are diabetes during pregnancy, gestational hypertension, autoimmune diseases, hemorrhages before childbirth, maternal infections, pregnancy complications, with frequent underlying cause of intrauterine growth retardation. Mr. Speaker, sir, prior to 2020, my ministry had a procedure to investigate into all complaints of alleged medical negligence, including stillbirths. On receipt of a complaint, a preliminary investigation was carried out at the level of the hospital by the regional health director. A report was thereafter submitted to my ministry, and upon examination of the preliminary report, my ministry decided whether to set up an independent inquiry committee or otherwise. The independent inquiry committee was constituted as follows: a regional health director from another region as chairperson, a medical specialist in the field, another co-opted medical specialist in the field as required, a medical specialist from the private sector as co-opted member if required, and an assistant permanent secretary as secretary to the committee. The independent inquiry committee submitted its report together with its findings and recommendations to my ministry, and where my ministry concluded on any evidence of medical negligence against a medical practitioner, the case was referred to the Medical Council under Section 13 of the Medical Council Act for further investigate and appropriate action. In case charges are leveled against doctors, the matter is referred to the Medical Disciplinary Tribunal, chaired by the citizen prisoner judge, and submit its recommendation to the Medical Council. After examination of the recommendation of the Medical Disciplinary Tribunal by the Medical Council, the matter is submitted to the Public Service Commission for necessary disciplinary action. Moreover, for cases referred to the courts, these have their own complex procedures which may take years to be resolved, notwithstanding appeal and counter-appeals. Mr. Speaker, sir, in May 2020, there were 44 outstanding cases of alleged medical negligence, some of which dated back to 2017, and were still pending at the level of the independent inquiry committees. Due to the heavy load,
my question relates not to way back, relates to 1st of February to 15th April, the number of cases. I fail to understand why the Minister is taking us back to May 2020, etc. I'd like your help, Mr. Speaker, to ask the Minister to stick to the question.
You made your point.
Mr. Speaker, sir, with a view to addressing this situation, in June 2020, the government set up the Medical Negligence Standing Committee to carry out preliminary investigations into all cases of complaints of alleged medical negligence at the level of public health institutions before referring the matter to the relevant statutory regulatory body. The Medical Negligence Standing Committee started its first investigation on 2nd July 2020. Mr. Speaker, sir, the terms of reference of the Medical Negligence Standing Committee are to ascertain that reasonable steps, including compliance to protocols and guidelines, have been observed, identifying any shortcoming which may have led to mismanagement of the patient, confirmed if proper diagnosis was made and appropriate treatment prescribed, confirmed treatment administered, identify if any officer by name and grade found to have been negligent in the performance or in relation of his duty, and make observation and recommendation accordingly. The committee is chaired by a barrister at law and comprises retired medical practitioners and co-opted medical specialists in the public and private sector in relevant fields. Mr. Speaker, sir, since the setting up of the Medical Negligence Standing Committee in June 2020, the committee has been meeting at least twice a week, except during the lockdown periods, and have been investigating into 49 cases of alleged medical negligence, Out of the 49 cases, 36 cases have been completed. Out of the 36 cases completed, 9 cases concluded with medical negligence and were referred to the respective statutory disciplinary bodies as appropriate. Mr. Speaker, sir, 2 complaints have been received at my ministry from 1st February to 15th April 2021. And with regard to Part A of the private notice question, I'm informed that from 1st February to 15 April 2021, 2 cases of newborn deaths have been referred to the Medical Negligence Standing Committee for an in-depth inquiry. Case of late baby PR at SSRN Hospital. Mr. Speaker, sir, following a complaint from the father of late baby PR on 14th April 2021 to the police and subsequently referred to my ministry on the same date, a preliminary inquiry has been conducted by the Regional Health Director of the SSRN Hospital on the same day. The report of the preliminary inquiry by the Regional Health Director, comprising reports from the consultant in charge, obstetrics and gynecology, specialist, senior specialist, obstetrics and gynecology on call, medical health officer, regional nursing administrator, was submitted to the ministry on the same day. After examination of the preliminary report from the Regional Health Director, SSRN Hospital at the level of my ministry, the case of alleged medical negligence in respect to the death of baby PR at SSRN Hospital was referred to the Medical Negligence Standing Committee for further investigation on Friday 16th April 2021. The committee has had its first meeting on 19th April 2021 and has had several sittings since then up to Monday 10th May 2021 and is expected to complete and submit its report before end of this month. The report from the Medical Negligence Standing Committee is therefore being awaited. Case of baby EQ of Jawaharlal Nehru Hospital. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that Mrs. VQ was admitted on 1st February 2021 following referral from private gynecologist. On examination by the gynecologist, I'm informed that the patient was found to have loss of liquor. An ultrasound was done, which showed a fetus with parameters indicating 23 weeks of gestation with anhydramnios, that is, there is complete absence of amniotic fluid. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am also informed that in view of the severe prematurity and anhydramnios, the case was discussed with the pediatrician for possible admission in the neonatal intensive care unit. In view of the gestational age and the biometry, it was decided that the baby would be kept under surveillance, observation, and no aggressive management would be carried out at birth. I'm further informed that the case was discussed with both the patient and her partner, who understood the line of management of her condition in view of the very poor prognosis of the fetus. Therefore, she was managed conservatively. Within 1 week of admission, on the 4th April 2021, at 16 hours, the patient went into spontaneous premature labor. The specialist on call was informed. I'm informed that on 5th of February 2021, it was decided to expedite delivery to minimize maternal complications. The treating specialist informed the gynecologist on call that on that day about the case and the management plan, which was already decided since the admission of the patient. At delivery, I am informed that the baby was not responsive. Since the fetus was of 24 weeks gestation, it was considered as an abortion. I am also informed that the consultant gynecologist, during his usual ward round, when inspecting the newborn for any congenital malformation, confirmed signs of life in the form of moaning and labored breathing, and subsequently shifted the baby to neonatal ICU. I'm informed on examination by the consultant pediatrician, the baby showed very feeble and intermittent cry and moaning. Breathing was labored and irregular with bilateral subcostal recessions. The heart rate was 60 to 70 per minute, and the extremities were cyanosed. There were few spontaneous limb movements, and reflexes were absent. I'm further informed that as at date, the baby is still in the neonatal ICU, and her condition is stable. Mr. Speaker, sir, the case has been referred to Medical Negligence Standing Committee for inquiry on 4th May 2021, and I'm informed that preliminary inquiry has already started since 5th May 2021, and the next meeting is scheduled on 17th May 2021. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to Part B of the private notice question, my ministry is awaiting the reports from the Medical Negligence Standing Committee. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to reassure the House that my ministry is taking necessary measures to improve the situation of obstetric and gynecology and pediatric units of our hospitals. Mr. Speaker, sir, I also wish to inform the members of that my ministry has recently launched a new cooling therapy, also known as therapeutic hypothermia, in the neonatal ICU of all regional hospitals. The cooling therapy is a life-saving treatment that prevents further brain damage in newborns who are born with a condition known as perinatal asphyxia. My ministry has also procured 14 new neonatal ventilators and also 2 new nitric oxide therapy delivery systems. This nitric oxide therapy is a selective pulmonary vasodilator which reduces blood pressure in the pulmonary blood vessels and increases the chances of survival of critically ill babies. I wish to inform the House that my ministry has an ongoing specialized training program for doctors and nurses in neonatal intensive care.
Mr. Speaker, firstly, let me table 2 letters from each of the families asking me to take up this matter in the House. Also, Mr. Teba, at this outset, I will table notification of birth for baby Kira, which says clearly and contradicts the 2 statements made by the Honourable Minister as to the baby being 22 weeks and then 24 weeks. The notification of birth signed by Dr. Edouard himself, the gynecologist, says the baby is 26 weeks, Mr. Speaker, and that is extremely important, the number of weeks. Now, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to ask some general questions on behalf of all the mothers who have to use the public services, Mr. Speaker, for birth. Now, the first question, Mr. Speaker, the PRB reports have, over the years now, and the last PRB report also, have stated the need, have recommended that gynecologists and pediatricians be employed and kept at the hospital on a 24-hour, 7-day basis. That has, Mr. Speaker, I asked the Honourable Minister whether he will arrange this very week for this PRB report recommendation, I have the section, etc., to be implemented so that any time, day or night, during a bank holiday or otherwise, a mother entering a regional hospital has at disposal a gynecologist and a pediatrician, Mr. Speaker. That is in the PRB report, and I will also table that.
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you, Honourable Member. It's right that I've said that the baby at the time of admission was 23 weeks on ultrasound, but after 1 week, when the baby was delivered, the baby obviously is 24 weeks. Second, now this is the clinical examination of the doctor. I have reported the factual facts that has been given to me. Mr. Speaker, sir, concerning the PRB report, I totally agree with the Honorable Leader of Opposition that we need to have gynecologists and pediatricians in call in our service. And obviously, this will improve the whole child and maternal care at our services. But at the same time, in 2013, when the PRB recommended such action to be taken, we didn't have the number of specialists in the service. Even outside the service, there was the number of specialists, and we didn't have the number of specialists, and this could not have been implemented. Nevertheless, Mr. Speaker, sir, we are working on the post of registrar, and we have recently submitted a proposition to the Ministry of Finance so that we can create this post of registrar, and that will facilitate our services. We can upgrade our services. The grade of registrar was created with the philosophy of having an intermediate grade between medical and health officers and that of specialists and senior officers, because even if we are going to create the post of having gynecologists stay in the hospital, we don't have the number for the time being.
Speaker, I thank the Minister for his reply, but there's some confusion. The PRB report has not asked for doctors, specialists to be on call, which, as you said, but to be physically present in the hospital. And Mr. Speaker, I look forward to, can the Minister tell us when we can expect to have registrars, which are middle-ranking doctors, posted in our regional hospitals to deal with these types of emergencies?
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, sir, on-call gynecologists are on call on daily basis in the hospital, but to be physically present, as I mentioned earlier, that we need to have more specialists, more gynecologists, so that we can implement such. But for the post of registrar, the Ministry has already worked all the terms and conditions and the procedures in the we need to get the approval of the civil service, to get the approval of the of finance, and if we have the approval of the different ministries, we are going to implement the post of registrar in our services, especially for we'll start by the obstetric and gynecology department.
Mr. Speaker, concerning the complaints procedure, both the Director of Audit and the Public Accounts Committee have made very strong negative remarks about the current complaints procedure in his ministry. Mr. Speaker, regarding baby Kirin, baby Q, the mother made her complaint on the 16th of February. It was only after there was a large article, two-page article in weekend newspaper, that apparently the matter has now been taken up by the Medical Complaints Committee, Medical Negligence Committee. How can you explain, Mr. Speaker, that for the 3 months nearly, the mother has not even been contacted once, not even an acknowledgement once by the Rosebud Hospital, and what disciplinary action is going to take about this?
Mr. Speaker, sir, about the complaint procedures, what has been pointed out in the audit report, it was for previous years. That's why last year we set up the Medical Negligence Standing Committee, and as I have already reported, there were pending cases since 2017, and thanks to this Medical Negligence Standing Committee, now we don't have pending cases, and I've already given the reasons why we had those cases, and that was for the report, the previous report of the audit, and obviously now we don't have such complaint. Now, secondly, about the complaint, Mr. Speaker, sir, the complaint was made to the police. We received the complaint from the police on the day that I've already mentioned, and on the same day we have initiated that an inquiry to be done as the procedure is at the level of the hospital, and then through that procedures we have already referred the case to the Medical Negligence Standing Committee.
Mr. Speaker, this is very worrying. Again, the Minister is being misinformed by Rosebud Hospital. The lady went personally to deliver a complaint letter. It was picked up by the receptionist, not even by a doctor at the hospital there, Rosebud Hospital. Has this ministry no record of that complaint made at Rosebud Hospital on the 16th of February? nearly 3 months ago? Not the police complaint, that's another one. I'm asking about the complaint in your hospital, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I've already given the procedures that have been followed, the complaint that we have received through the police, and now, if ever there is a complaint by the lady at the level of the hospital, we would have, the ministry would have been informed about the complaint and immediate action would have been taken. But now it is at the level of the medical negligence standing committee. Let them do their work so that we can have an idea when was the complaint. The complaint procedure is through the medical superintendent office by the parents, what I have been informed.
It's not the time to say that this poor suffering lady is a liar and has not submitted the complaint. This is not the time to say so. I would ask the Honourable Minister to inquire, call the lady, inquire, and find out whether she has or not, as she has told me personally, submitted, and the circumstances in which it was taken. This is a very serious matter. Eh? It can happen to any of your parents. Eh? So be careful. Now, ask that don't treat her as a liar. Speak to her and find out what has happened to the complaint, because so far, as I can see, Rosebell Hospital, Nehru Hospital has given you 2 inaccurate answers, easily proven by the birth certificate and by the statement of this poor mother, Mr. Speaker. This shows, Mr. Speaker.
Put the question.
This is the question. This shows, and will the Minister that agree, that the whole complaints procedure...
No. Put the question.
Let me ask the question. The whole complaints procedure is bancal and needs to be changed, Mr. Speaker, and needs to be reviewed. And will the Minister ask an outside consultant, a firm of consultants, to look at the whole complaints procedure? Because here's a case of wrongdoing and misinformation.
Mr. Speaker, sir, what the Honourable Leader of the Opposition has said, that the patient, maybe she's a liar, I haven't said so. And at the same time, I will inquire and inform the House whether there has been a complaint lodged at the level of the hospital. But at the same time, Mr. Speaker, sir, especially about complaints lodged and the time it takes, I will just give a brief how it was in the past and how now the Medical Negligence Standing Committee, as I've already reported, how it is now. Mr. Speaker, sir, we had a complaint in 2005 with the death following a cesarean section. And Mr. Speaker, sir, it is only in 2013.
Order on both sides of the
Mr.
House.
Speaker, sir, I have to give information how the complaint now is being treated on a false basis, how it was in the past. That's why I'm giving. Giving only relevant answers pertaining to the question of the duration that a complaint is being processed at the level of the ministry. 2005, the complaint following the death of a patient, and that complaint, we had the verdict in 2013. There is no 8 years of, it did not take 8 years now. It's been taking only few months or few weeks to deliver the report from a complaint.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, therefore I would ask the Minister not only to ask the hospital, but to contact the lady herself, please.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to talk now about baby Ram. Ask about baby Ram, Mr. Speaker. The baby, I'm not going to. Very, very shocking what happened, Mr. Speaker. Sir. Now, I'm going to ask baby Ram, let's say that the head was severed. Doesn't the Minister agree that the basic human decency would have been to suture the head back before giving it to the parents and not giving it in 2 parts to the parent? This is my question.
No comments. Only one leader of the opposition.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I will take this, what you've said, and I believe that this has to be, the experts have to give us whether this has to be sutured because I believe that there is a case, and it is a police case. What has to be done after that? I am not the forensic medical practitioner or the forensic expert to give an advice on this, but I will surely share your views to the police, to the forensic expert.
Give instructions that should this, God forbid, happen again, then it will be. If human decency, the head should be suited back on. Mr. Speaker, I'll ask to ask the Minister also. Is his ministry so poor that a baby has to be delivered, given to his mother in a biscuit box, in a encore, whatever it is, biscuit box, a store biscuit box? Is that practice, and what disciplinary action have you taken, and what instructions will the given minister give, so that never again has this sort of occurrence happen again?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to point out that Honorable Mohammed made a comment over here. He has to withdraw it because he doesn't have the time to give his comment now when the leader of opposition is putting his question.
I will give my ruling later on.
I will table this, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, sir, about what the Honorable Leader of Opposition has said, it is the police medical officer who can only do such thing, and the sutures, all that, it has to be done at that level. It is not the ministry. Whenever such incident has happened, the ministry will not undertake to do the suturing.
Speaker, will the Honourable Minister speak to the police, a medical officer, whatever, so that this is done in the future? There's a solution to everything. And Mr. Speaker, therefore, as far as the cardboard box is concerned, has not replied about that one. There's also the police.
Sir, again, I've already said...
You are saying it's the Prime Minister.
Once, Mr. Speaker, sir, I've already replied. Once this incident has taken place, the police is in charge of everything, and now it's the police and the police medical officer.
You are not answering. Quiet.
Yeah. But
quiet.
But at this point of time, I won't make any comments on that because this is an inquiry still ongoing.
About the photo, there's no need for an inquiry. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to come now to the issue of echography, ultrasound. In overseas, Mr. Speaker, nurses are trained to carry out ultrasound and see what position the baby is, whether it is breached or not breached, or weight, etc. In Mauritius, it's not true. The nurses are no longer trained to do echography. So I'm going to ask the Honourable Minister whether he will arrange, as in the past in Mauritius, to have midwives and other nurses trained, so that even when the gynecologist is not there, until you have him full-time, that these nurses can do echography and find out the basics of the position of the baby and the size, etc. It's a basic question, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, sir, so far my information is nurses working in midwife, they are trained to do ultrasound, and their training to do ultrasound is for the beginning of the pregnancy, and when it comes to at this stage of pregnancy, it is the gynecologists, the specialist gynecologists who are trained, who should do the ultrasound. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, sir, I will table a copy of all those nursing officers who have been trained to do ultrasound in for the midwife who have been trained to do ultrasound in the obstetric and gynecology department.
I have one last question, which my colleagues wish to intervene with pleasure.
What's your last question?
No, usually it is the last question, it's for me, but then it's open the floor. That's been like that for years. You're changing it now?
Question.
You're changing it now?
Time is over, so you finish. Thank you very much.
There is obviously, with regard to both baby Ram and baby Kirin, the lack of a formal protocol at the hospitals. As far as baby Kirin is concerned, a protocol is required so that the threshold of viability, i.e. the number of weeks that is to be considered, a baby is to be considered as viable, and also the procedures for premature and breech births in Mauritius. I'd like to ask the Honourable Minister whether he will not see to it, he will not agree to have urgently a protocol on these issues so that we no longer have these highly regrettable incidents in our hospitals.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I have a report on the viability of the age of fetus, and I will briefly read this viability. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, sir, any baby, premature or not premature, who's delivered, we have the duty to give the chance for life, and that's what has been the philosophy, what has been doing in the ministry. Briefly, I will just state the viability. And in the fetal lung development at 24 weeks gestation, there is production of surfactant. This is the substance that is crucial to the diffusion of gases, that is oxygen. Viability, the definition is based on availability of different levels of neonatal service. I'll submit this report I'll table this report about the age of viability.
Time over. Prime Minister, question time. Honourable Amyamya.
Yes, B293.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I am informed by the Commissioner of Police that the Photographic Enforcement Device Unit was set up by the Traffic Management and Road Safety Unit of the Ministry of Land Transport and Light Rail and has been operational since December 2008. The PEDU is responsible for the management of the structure, process, and system of the photographic enforcement devices, which capture overspeeding offences through fixed speed cameras. The unit is manned by police officers from the traffic branch of the Mauritius Police Force. The Photographic Enforcement Device project comprises of a network of fixed speed cameras installed on our roads around the island. These fixed speed cameras are designed to take the photographs of vehicles, including their registration plates, which exceed the indicated speed limits on those sections of the road where the speed cameras are installed. The speed cameras are fixed in zones with indicated speed limits of 40 kilometers per hour, 60 kilometers per hour, 80 kilometers per hour, and 110 kilometers per hour. The photographs taken by the speed cameras are transmitted to the Photographic Enforcement Device Unit, which processes the speeding offences. It is linked to the database of the National Land Transport Authority, from where particulars and ownership of the vehicles are obtained. Thereafter, photographic enforcement device notices are sent by post to the road traffic offenders for the payment of relevant fines for exceeding speed limit in breach of Section 124 of the Road Traffic Amendment Act of 2018. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am informed by the Commissioner of Police that since July 2019 to June 2020, 40,840 drivers have been booked by way of photographic enforcement device for exceeding speed limit. As regards the categorization of vehicles contravened, the database system kept at the PEDU has been designed to keep records of the registration number, date, time, and place of offence, as well as the speed. It also captures photographs of the vehicle found speeding. However, the system does not categorize vehicles in terms of their make and type.
During the period July 2019 to June 2020, the Photographic Enforcement Unit downloaded 10,008 images pertaining to speed violation by auto and motorcycles from speed cameras. And the number of images relating to auto and motorcycles amounts to 7,751, representing 77% of images that were rejected by the Photographic Enforcement Unit. And the main reason being no registration plate and registration plate obstructed. Therefore, can I ask the Honourable Prime Minister, what is being done to address this issue?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, sir, in fact, the fixed speed cameras, they are capable of capturing the speed offences by motorcycles. However, many offences that are committed by motorcycles are not being processed because of the difficulty in viewing the number plates of motorcycles in the photographs. I am informed that many number plates are not compliant in terms of the dimensions and fixing on the motorcycles as prescribed in the road traffic construction and use of vehicles regulations. Amendment was brought to the road traffic construction and use of vehicles, Amendment number 2 regulations, number 21, which came into force on 31st of March 2021. The regulations make provision for determining the dimensions of the registration plate and the size of the characters. The regulations also make provision for electric, auto and motorcycle to have a registration plate. Hence, the police now and the NLTA have been urged to undertake crackdown operations to ensure that the provisions of the law are being adhered to with respect to the dimensions of registration plate on motorcycles. Maybe I will also ask, I will request honourable members to have a look also at the regulations that was in force before, because I know that the honourable member is referring to the comments that have been made by the Director of Audit. It was in the 9th schedule, in fact, regulation 58 and 59. This is what is mentioned in the report, and we can see in the 9th schedule the size and spacing of characters on registration plates. And my colleague, the Minister for Land Transport, came with amendments which are now contained in the Road Traffic Act regulations that have been made in 2021. So I will just ask the Honourable Member to compare, in fact, the different, what are the sizes that have been prescribed in those regulations. And then there is also the issue of how they affix the registration plate, because for the camera to be able to read the number, it has to be affixed in such a way that it is readable. That is why I mentioned in my reply that the police officers and the NLTA will now have to enforce those regulations.
Mr. Speaker, in fact, the regulations 58 and 59 were already here since 2010. But according to the Director of Audit remarks, is that the police and the NLTA were not enforcing these regulations. And to use the words of Director of Audit, the use of speed cameras to detect speed violation will be ineffective and images captured will be useless if these regulations are not enforced. So therefore, can I ask the Honourable Prime Minister to see to it that these existing regulations since 2010 are enforced?
Yes, I have, as I have said, I can understand the comments that have been made by the Director of Audit. But I'm sure Honourable Member will appreciate that there were two problems. The first one was with regard to the dimension of the number on the number plate. Now that has been, there is a new regulation. It has to be in bigger characters, at spacing and so on. I won't go into the details of it, but now it is definitely more visible. The second issue was, where was the number plate fixed on the motorcycle? In many motorcycles, it was fixed on the side. Now you can imagine when the motorcycle is overspeeding, it will be impossible to capture the number plate because it is on the side, so you can't read it. That is why now they have to fix it at either in front or at the back, and at certain places, but which obviously will be captured by the device. And that is why I said now it is for the officers of NLTA, for police officers, to see to it that those motorcycles, they do abide by the law. That is, they affix it in a normal and legal way.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, can the Honourable Prime Minister inform the House which company was awarded the contract for installation and maintenance of these cameras?
Well, Mr. Speaker, sir, in 2008 and 2010, there has been two procurement exercises to procure automatic mobile speed detection camera units and mobile cameras. Then there was a third exercise for speed cameras that was held in 2012. I am informed that ProGuard Limited was awarded the contract for the supply, installation, commissioning and operation of automatic speed enforcement cameras, which is the system that we have now. The cost for installation of the speed cameras was 171,126,112 rupees and 25 cents, inclusive of VAT. And the maintenance contractor, since the installation of the system, has been ProGuard Limited. And I'm informed that for the period 2020-2021, the company was awarded the contract for a value of 33.7 million rupees, inclusive of VAT.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. In his reply, the Prime Minister mentioned about contravention, number of contravention. I would like to know, for such offences, is the driver contravened?
Well, in fact, Mr. Speaker, sir, there are, of course, different steps to be followed. Once we have the data, the contravention established by the speed cameras are downloaded in the server, and they are manually processed. And the first phase is the number plate recognition, and each vehicle registration number is identified and highlighted by zooming at the number plate. Now, if it is a valid contravention, it is accepted, and then the next step is the owner lookup module. Now, if it is rejected, the reason of reject is inserted, like, for example, there are police vehicles, ambulances, and so on. Now, particulars of the owner is searched in the NTA database, and all entries are verified, and the appropriate offense is then selected and accepted. Now, I am informed that the particulars of the owner of the vehicle is inserted on an envelope as well as in the registered postal book with the serial number. The same is posted to the owner of the vehicle within 14 days. And the owner now, if he was not the driver at the time of the offense, has a delay of 28 days to pay the prescribed fine from the date of issue. Otherwise, the owner when he was not the driver at the material time, he must inform the Commissioner of Police of the particulars of the driver, and notices will have to be reprocessed accordingly.
The team.
The question relates to speeding and contravention. May I know from the Honourable Prime Minister whether use is being made of the Safe City cameras also for speeding offences?
No, you're referring to the IVS cameras. For the time being, they cannot be used because you need to adapt the system with software and so on to be able to do so. It can be done, but if it has to be done, then obviously we will have to have a new agreement so that those software can be installed. But I can assure the House they are not being used right now for that purpose.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. In his reply, the Prime Minister mentioned the details captured. Can we know for how long these captured data are being kept by the PEDU department?
Well, let me try to find out. I don't know. I know that there's no specific time period which is defined in the law, but I am aware that it can be kept for many, many years. I will try to find out for how many years, but I know it can be kept for many, many years.
Yes, B294.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, sir, I am informed by the Commissioner of Police that since January 2019 to date, no contravention has been booked and no arrest effected for illegal road racing pursuant to Section 125 of the Road Traffic Act in the region of Rochebois. However, following complaints received on 24th of May 2019 at night regarding illegal road racing and loud noise, a crackdown operation was immediately carried out by Rochebois Police Station, supported by a team from Criminal Investigation Division, Port Louis North, Emergency Response Service, and Special Support Unit with a view to preventing, deterring, and arresting persons involved in such illegal activities. When the police reached the spot, they stopped 3 persons riding their motorcycles and who were suspected to have been participating in illegal road racing. When police questioned them, they denied any involvement in illegal road racing, and neither any independent person came forward as witness. Nevertheless, 13 contraventions not related to illegal road racing were established against them for the following offences: no letter L affixed on vehicle, failing to wear high visibility clothing, failing to produce driving license or a photocopy thereof on demand, dangerous driving, insurance vignette not affixed, motor vehicle license not affixed, inefficient silencer, defaced number plate, and breach of condition attached to provisional license. Mr. Speaker, sir, on 17th of April 2021 at night, following an anonymous phone call from an inhabitant complaining about illegal rally along the motorway, Rochebois, 3 police officers proceeded there. They saw 2 persons riding their motorcycles at high speed and appeared to be participating in an illegal rally. On seeing the police, the riders tried to escape. Whilst the police officers were trying to arrest the riders, a hostile crowd of about 20 persons present thereat started throwing stones towards the 3 police officers and the police vehicle in order to allow the riders to escape. In the course of the incident, the officers were injured and the police vehicle sustained minor damages. Enquiry in this case is proceeding. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am further informed by the Commissioner of Police that no later than 9th of May 2021, a similar incident happened along Rochebois New Trunk Road. Following an anonymous phone call from an inhabitant regarding an illegal rally, the police went on the spot and saw some persons riding motorcycles at high speed. On seeing the police, they rode away, and whilst effecting their patrol, the police faced a hostile crowd of youngsters who pelted unknown objects towards the officers and their vehicle, which sustained damages at the windscreen. Fortunately, nobody was injured, but no one could be arrested. Enquiry in this case is also ongoing. Between January 2021 and May 2021, 2 crackdown operations have been carried out by the police in the region of Rochebois, whereby several vehicles were stopped and searched. However, no contravention was established as no person was found to be engaged in illegal road racing. I am also informed by the police that checks at vehicle checkpoints are carried out on a daily basis in the Rochebois region and its vicinity at specific hours, with the participation of different units of the police force targeting illegal road racing as follows. On a daily basis, SSU provides night patrols in the north and along the motorway at Rochebois, and ERS jointly with personnel of Rochebois Police Station perform checks on Friday and Saturday nights. Safe city cameras, comprising a total of 5 intelligence video surveillance cameras, have also been installed at 3 sites along the motorway between Cocoterie and Rochebois roundabouts on 19th November 2019, 18th of June 2020, and 21st of August 2020, respectively. Mr. Speaker, sir, the police has also informed that the following additional measures have been put in place to prevent the holding of illegal road racing on public roads, including the part of the motorway at Rochebois. Regular crackdown operations are carried out during the night of Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays at strategic locations with a view to discouraging and tracking down the organizers of illegal road racing. B, since Wednesday, 17th of June 2020, the traffic branch has implemented a new policing scheme called Visible Patrol along motorway M1 and M2. 2 mobile teams carry out daily patrols along the motorways from 2200 hours to 600 hours to detect road traffic offences and to deter any illegal activity, including road racing. C, sensitization campaigns on road safety issues in targeted areas at schools, colleges, youth centres and youth clubs are organized with a view to sensitizing people on the dangers of such activities as speeding and illegal road racing. Since January 2019, 3,450 lectures have been delivered by personnel of traffic branch and 82,222 persons have been sensitized. And D, gathering information by field intelligence officers and CID on illegal road racing. Mr. Speaker, sir, the problem of illegal road racing is being faced by many countries around the world, and it is also a matter of concern for Mauritius. It should be pointed out that every year, some 8 to 10 applications are received from registered organizations for approval by police for the organization of racing events in certain areas. If an application meets the criteria and all the necessary documents are submitted, it is approved. The possibility of having dedicated spaces for racing activities had been envisaged in the past, but this measure involves certain risks and costs associated with its implementation. That is why we need to be very cautious before taking a decision. I am informed by the Ministry of Youth Empowerment, Sports and Recreation that a rally circuit project is under consideration. In this regard, it is proposed to carry out a feasibility study, and an amount of 2 million rupees has been earmarked in the budget for that purpose.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, since we are talking about speeding, I will make a polite request to the Honourable Prime Minister if he can speed up his reply because we are running out of time. So, therefore, Mr. Speaker, I would like to mention that illegal rallies is a current feature in the vicinity of the motorway in Rochebois, whereby several inhabitants have made complaints to the police, but with no fruitful results. And it's good that the Prime Minister mentioned that there are crackdown operations and check. But can I ask the Honourable Prime Minister if police officers can be posted permanently during the weekend in specific time at night so that they can act as a deterrent to those illegal rallies?
First of all, Mr. Speaker, sir, when a question is put to me, I try my best to provide sufficient information in order for the Honourable Member to understand my reply. I'm not coming here before this House to waste the time of the House. And I hope that the Honourable Member will appreciate that whatever I've been saying in my reply are all relevant to the question that he has asked. That is my first remark. Secondly, of course, since putting the question, I have discussed the matter with the Commissioner of Police. I have discussed the matter with my colleague, the Minister of Land Transport, to look into ways and means of how we can address this issue. And obviously, we don't want people to go against the law, especially when in the past there have been cases which have been fatal. So we are looking into, apart from the measures, and I don't want to repeat again what I have said, because in fact, the supplementary question that is being asked by the Honourable Member, I have already replied to that. And in fact, this is wasting the time of the House. But anyway, I don't mind, because that is the question that is being asked. And I have said in my reply that there is coordination, first of all, between the authorities, and on the side of the police, we have, I am being told that there are patrols at certain times at night. There is now, with the support of the cameras which have been installed at different places, the police will give particular attention to that stretch of the road. And obviously, as I have said, the officers will have to mount, because I've given instances where police officers have attended cases, and they have been, unfortunately, they have been obstructed, let me put it that way. They have been obstructed in doing their duty. So that also is being looked into so that there is better coordination.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. The country has been witness to many tragic accidents as a result of illegal rallies, And at the same time, amateur motor racing clubs are willing to live their passion within a safety and legal framework. So in that regard, with regards to existing law, does the Prime Minister intend to review the law and consider enforcing more strict sanctions to those who are going to discourage the practice of illegal rallies, and at the same time regulate, more ease the organization of legal rallies? Thank you.
In fact, Mr. Speaker, sir, the legal provisions and the penalties that are prescribed for illegal road racing have not changed since many, many years. In fact, it dates back, when I look at the law, Section 125 of the Road Traffic Act, 1962. And it's good that I read what the law says, and I quote, "Any person who, except with the consent of and in accordance with any conditions imposed by the Commissioner of Police, promotes or takes part in any race or trial of speed between motor vehicles on a road shall commit an offence and shall, on conviction, be liable to a fine not exceeding 1,000 rupees. Clearly, this clause relating to the illegal road racing and its penalty need to be reviewed. And now, of course, it needs to be made stricter, and I'm going to discuss with my colleague, the Minister of Land Transport, to see to it that, and I believe that we need to, in fact, amend the law so that it includes also a term of imprisonment. But I'm saying that, this is my opinion, it will have to be discussed with my colleague, and then eventually government will come with amendments.
Honourable members, the table is advised that PQ B295, B299, B301, B302, B303, B306, B308 have been withdrawn. Time over. PQs. Honourable Amyamya.
Yes. B309.
Monsieur le Président, en ce qui concerne les parties A, B et C de la question, je dépose les informations demandées par l'honorable membre. Par ailleurs, permettez-moi de préciser qu'à la date du 31 mars 2021, il y avait un total de 12,79 milliards de roupies de prêts accordés par le gouvernement, dont environ 2,26 milliards de roupies d'arriérés sur le remboursement. Sur cette somme, 2,06 milliards de roupies concernent des prêts approuvés jusqu'à fin décembre 2014 et 0,2 milliards de roupies pour des prêts accordés depuis janvier 2015. Ce gouvernement a pris un grand nombre de mesures pour recouvrer les arriérés ainsi que pour empêcher les arriérés de s'accumuler davantage. À cet égard, ces mesures comprennent 1. Un suivi rigoureux du remboursement des prêts comme prévu en envoyant des avis de remboursement en temps voulu et en s'engageant auprès des organismes publics. 2. Le rééchelonnement du remboursement des prêts dans les cas où les organismes publics sont confrontés à des difficultés de trésorerie et financières. 3. La possible mise en place d'une période de moratoire plus longue pour les prêts afin que les organismes publics puissent rembourser les prêts lorsqu'ils ont commencé à récolter des retours positifs sur leurs investissements. Et 4. Pour les organismes publics qui n'ont pas la capacité de rembourser les prêts, leurs projets d'infrastructure ne sont plus financés par des prêts, mais par des apports de fonds propres et des transferts de capitaux. Ces organismes publics pourront ainsi utiliser leurs recettes pour apurer leurs arriérés et financer eux-mêmes leurs opérations. Merci.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, outstanding loans, according to the remark of the Director of Audit, have increased by 8% to reach 11.5 billion as at 30th of June 2020. And two statutory bodies, namely CWA and Wastewater Management Authority owed 3.9 billion and 3.4 billion respectively, representing 63% of this 11.5 billion rupees. Therefore, can I ask the Honourable Minister of Finance, what is being done to recoup this money from these two institutions?
Monsieur le Président, comme je l'ai dit précisément sur cette question, nous avons mis en place plusieurs mesures pour essayer d'aider aussi les entreprises publiques à passer ces moments difficiles. Vous savez, on fait des investissements et il y a aussi des moments difficiles qu'on est en train de passer avec la Covid, etc. Mais il y a aussi des arriérés qui ont été accumulés dans le passé. Et pour cela, on est en train de faire un travail pour voir comment on peut procéder par la suite si on ne va pas mettre des fonds propres pour essayer d'apurer ces situations difficiles. Donc, concernant les deux entreprises publiques en question, je vais travailler avec mon collègue pour le prochain budget pour essayer de voir comment on peut continuer pour apurer la situation financière de ces deux entreprises publiques.
The reply of the Minister of Finance in the audit report is, I quote, "With a view to further improve the financial situation, the debt servicing ability to these organizations, several efficiency and revenue optimization measures are being implemented." So therefore, can I ask the Honourable Minister, what are these optimization measures?
Monsieur le Président, je viens donner les détails concernant les mesures pour essayer d'apurer les arriérés de ces entreprises publiques. J'en ai cité 4. Je ne vais pas revenir dessus, je pense que l'honorable membre a entendu les 4. Il y a aussi un travail continu qu'on fait au niveau du ministère des Finances pour essayer de continuellement améliorer la situation financière des entreprises publiques. En ce sens, on a mis en place un comité de pilotage au niveau du ministère des Finances pour voir le niveau de la dette et travailler sur les mesures qu'on doit prendre pour essayer de diminuer le niveau de la dette dans le futur. Donc, à ce stade, on est en train de continuer de travailler et on va venir avec des mesures précises dans le prochain budget pour améliorer la situation financière de ces entreprises.
The Minister gave general remarks what they will do, but not precisely what is being done. I will give him 2 examples whereby the loans, the outstanding loans, exceeds the original loan that was advanced to the statutory body. 2 examples. First is Polytechnics. Original loan is 486 million, and now the balance is 651 million. And the second one is Airport Terminal Operations Limited. Original loan is 494 million, and the current balance is 573 million. So, in these 2 ICU cases, what is being done to redress the situation?
Monsieur le Président, j'aimerais déjà que l'honorable membre enlève le mot ICU. Je ne vois pas en quoi il y a ICU cases dedans. Je viens de répéter, on est dans une situation difficile. Si je reprends concernant la compagnie AML, l'aéroport de Maurice, qui est une compagnie fructueuse. Mais malheureusement, on est dans une situation de Covid et qu'il n'y a pas un seul touriste ni de passager qui passe les frontières à Maurice. Donc, on doit prendre en considération cela. Donc, pour revenir, je peux répondre à la question, s'il vous plaît? Donc, pour revenir à la question, c'est tout simple. Il ne doit pas mélanger et faire le total entre les deux. D'un côté, il y a le montant du prêt et de l'autre côté, il y a les intérêts et autres arriérés qui ont été accumulés et ils ont eu une garantie de l'État. Et si jamais l'État doit prendre part dans le remboursement, nous allons travailler dessus. Merci.
If these parastatal bodies were companies, they would already be in liquidation because they are unable to pay their debt when they fall due. This being the case, is the Minister considering carrying out an audit to ascertain for each parastatal body why they are unable to repay their debt, whether it is for structural reason, and in the light of this report, whether to consider to write off the debt or capitalize the debt?
Monsieur le Président, je remercie l'honorable membre pour cette question. Et oui, au niveau du ministère des Finances, on est en train de travailler dessus pour voir, entreprise publique par entreprise publique, les dettes qu'ont ces entreprises et qu'est-ce qu'on va faire pour le futur. C'est pour ça que je disais, on va venir avec des mesures précises dans le prochain budget.
Next question.
B310.
Monsieur le Président, la State Investment Corporation Limited a conclu un joint venture agreement avec Yeeha International Investment Management Limited pour le développement d'un projet Smart City à Paille. Le projet comprend 3 phases, dont un ensemble résidentiel d'appartements, penthouse et villas, un ensemble de bureaux et de locaux commerciaux et enfin un ensemble d'espaces de loisirs. Le projet a démarré après l'obtention d'un Smart City Certificate auprès de l'Economic Development Board en octobre 2019. Les 2 confinements de 2020 et 2021, en raison de la pandémie de la Covid-19, ainsi que les limitations de la mobilité des ressources pendant ces périodes, ont retardé la mise en œuvre du projet. Malgré les contraintes évoquées, les travaux de construction de la première phase sont actuellement en cours pour 4 villas de luxe, ainsi que pour les infrastructures de base, pour le drainage et aussi pour la construction d'appartements. Les 2 premières villas devraient être achevées en juin 2021 et les 2 autres en septembre 2021. La commercialisation des villas et des appartements est en cours au niveau local et international par le biais de divers canaux. Le promoteur a notamment lancé une campagne de publicité en ligne pour la vente des villas et des appartements. Le rythme du projet de construction des villas et des appartements dépendra des réactions du marché et de la part des acheteurs étrangers potentiels qui souhaiteront peut-être se rendre sur place pour visiter le site et observer les infrastructures avant de prendre leur décision d'achat. Merci.
Mr. Speaker, le défi du 26 décembre 2020, titré « La Yeeha Garden Smart City est qualifié comme étant le plus gros projet du siècle par la SIC. 1 millier d'appartements de luxe, hôtels 5 étoiles, une centaine de villas luxueuses, un centre commercial, entre autres. » Et maintenant, nous entendons dire le ministre des Finances qu'il y a la construction de 2 villas, 4 villas et 2 en cours. 2 en cours de construction. Mr. Speaker, can I ask the Honourable Minister if he is aware that SIC has invested 97 arpents of land? If I take it as 15 millions l'arpent, it's more than 1 billion taxpayers' money that is in this project since 2015. And today we hear the Honourable Minister stating to the House that only 2 villas are being constructed.
Monsieur le Président, comme je viens de l'évoquer, dans ce genre de projet, les acheteurs potentiels aiment bien venir voir le suivi du projet. Donc, pour la finalisation de ce projet, nous devons en terminer avec la pandémie qui sévit actuellement dans le pays. Nous savons tous, je pense que les frontières sont fermées et qu'on est en train de subir de plein fouet le Covid à travers le monde. Donc, ce projet est là. C'est aussi agréable de l'entendre de la part du promoteur, c'est que ce projet n'est pas mis dans un panier. Il n'a pas arrêté le projet parce que, à cause de la Covid, il voulait arrêter le projet. Non, il dit qu'il est en train de voir et d'attendre que les acheteurs potentiels viennent voir ce projet et continuent le projet par la suite. Donc nous, ce qu'on est en train de faire, on est en train de suivre avec Yeeha. Ils ont déjà commencé la construction. Ils avaient prévu la construction de 4 villas. Ils vont le faire. Et par la suite, on va continuer avec ce projet. Je ne vois pas l'urgence de l'honorable membre sur ce projet. Il n'y avait pas un délai prédéterminé. En tout cas, ce délai, avec la Covid, s'il y en avait un, maintenant avec la Covid, c'est sûr qu'on doit ajouter un délai supplémentaire dessus.
Is 2020. The project started since 2018 where they obtained all the approvals.
Monsieur le Président.
I'm not finished.
Non, Monsieur le Président.
No, I'm not finished. I will ask my question, then you can reply.
Wait, put your question.
Answering to a PQB 950 on November 2020, the Honourable Minister stated to the House, la structure de financement des phases 2 et 3 sera elle aussi élaborée dans un business plan qui sera défini et approuvé par les actionnaires de la joint venture. Therefore, can I ask the Honourable Minister, in the name of transparency, accountability and good governance, can he table a copy of his business plan?
Monsieur le Président, avant de table quoi que ce soit, j'aimerais préciser. Le projet a démarré, je pense qu'il doit l'écouter encore une fois, le projet a démarré après l'obtention d'un Smart City Certificate auprès de l'Economic Development Board en octobre 2019. Je n'ai pas entendu 2015 nulle part quand j'étais en train de... Donc, le projet, je vois bien que l'honorable membre n'est pas au courant du processus concernant la mise en place d'un projet. Ça prend du temps entre l'idée et la réalisation d'un projet, Monsieur le Président. Donc, pour cela, oui, je le dis bien, oui, il y a eu un retard. Mais ce retard, je signale bien qu'octobre 2019, on était à peut-être 2 ou 3 mois du début du Covid, Monsieur le Président. Donc, il y a eu un retard sur ce projet à cause du Covid. C'est pour cela qu'on a eu un problème. Il ne faut pas aller chercher en 2015. Le projet a démarré, et je le dis bien, en octobre 2019. Et concernant, si je peux, table le business plan, je ne crois pas que c'est dans sur l'autorité du ministre des Finances de table any business plan ici. S'il a besoin de savoir ce business plan, je dois demander, parce que c'est une compagnie privée, je dois demander quand même l'autorisation avant de procéder avec cette demande. Et par la suite, je tiendrai le membre en question, je donnerai une réponse à la Chambre dessus.
Honorable David.
B311.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that there has been no official complaint received at the level of the Ministry on this matter. However, based on press articles relating to late arrival of the ambulance, my Ministry has caused an inquiry to be carried out at the level of Dr. AGG2 Hospital by the Regional Health Director. I'm informed that on 14th April 2021 at 7:16 hours, the SAMU control room at Victoria Hospital received a call on 114 to attend to a case of labor pain in respect of Mrs. MOLL, living in Lato Clinic. At 7:25 hours, the SAMU control room transmitted the request to the nearest SAMU team at Dr. AGG2 Hospital, which departed immediately to attend to the case. The SAMU team arrived at the place of residence of Mrs. MOLL at 7:39 hours. Upon examination by the SAMU doctor, the patient was found to be conscious and stable. The SAMU team proceeded with the third stage of labor on site, and the placenta was delivered in toto. The stillborn was declared dead at 7:45 hours. Both the lady and the stillborn were transferred to the labor ward of Dr. AGG2 Hospital, and the case was then referred to police for an inquiry. Based on the above report, there has been no delay in attending to the patient, and the case was properly managed by the SAMU team. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that on 14th April 2021, police attended to the case of at Dr. AGG2 Hospital. On the same day, an autopsy was carried out, and the cause of death was declared as fresh stillborn. I'm further informed that police inquiry is still underway.
Monsieur le Président, permettez-moi tout d'abord de présenter au nom de notre Assemblée nationale nos sympathies à la famille L. Et je tiens à préciser que c'est avec leur accord que j'ai posé cette question parlementaire. Monsieur le Président, la sœur de Madame MOLL affirme avoir appelé le SAMU ce matin du 14 avril 2021 à 3 reprises. Et elle a même précisé que le premier appel avait été passé à 6h30 du matin. Et elle a rajouté qu'une femme a même décroché et lui a parlé. J'imagine, Monsieur le Président, que tous les appels reçus par et émis par le SAMU sont enregistrés et minutés. Le ministre peut-il donc nous confirmer le nombre et l'horaire précis des appels reçus par le SAMU et émis par le SAMU concernant ce triste événement du 14 avril?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I have a table of the list of the calls that SAMI has received. I'm going to table the list of the records.
Le témoignage de la famille dans la presse, Monsieur le Président, et le ministre l'a mentionné, témoignage qu'ils m'ont confirmé lorsque je leur ai rendu visite chez eux à la Tour-Kénique le 22 avril, indique que le SAMU est arrivé sur les lieux à 7h50. Encore une fois, je me base sur le témoignage de la famille, soit 1h20 après le premier appel qu'ils maintiennent avoir passé à 6h30. Le ministre peut-il nous dire combien d'ambulances et d'équipes du SAMU étaient disponibles au moment du premier appel de la famille et à quel endroit se trouvait l'ambulance disponible la plus proche de la Tour-Kénique, car j'imagine que les ambulances sont équipées d'un système de géolocalisation.
Mr. Speaker, sir, this information I don't have it, but I'm sure once I get it, I'm going to table it for the honourable member. But at the same time, the recording of the SAMU for the timing of the what are the phone calls that have been received is clearly there, and it is the same as I have given it in my reply.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le ministre a affirmé que l'hôpital a reçu le premier appel à 7h16 et que l'ambulance, le SAMU, est arrivé au domicile de la personne à 7h39, ce qui fait 23 minutes de route. Hors de Port-Louis à Pointe-Sable, il n'y a que 10 minutes de route, d'autant plus que la circulation était fluide en temps de confinement. Le ministre ne pense-t-il pas que le bébé aurait pu être sauvé si le SAMU était arrivé à temps?
Mr. Speaker, sir, the time that SAMU has taken from at the time the SAMU was informed and at the time that the SAMU has reached the place, but I cannot comment about the traffic situation. But at the same time, Mr. Speaker, sir, this is quite confidential, but because this question has been given, the patient has no antenatal follow-up. Since the beginning, when somebody is pregnant, there is no antenatal follow-up, and whatever, I think it's not proper to give information what has been the report from the patient, and based on all that, I think SAMU, that was whatever factual that I have to give, and I have nothing more to add on this, Mr. Speaker.
I'll raise the sitting for 1.5 hours.